Hey guys, so today we are gonna do a mermaid cake, which is awesome. To start, I'm just putting a little bit of buttercream on my cake board. And I'm putting down my first cake layer and adhering it to the board. I'm using a lemon buttercream filling, which is basically just my regular buttercream with a little, about the zest of one whole lemon in it. I made all of the buttercreams last night. I like to make all my fillings and frostings a little bit in advance. I find that works best. And that way, when you're ready to go, all you have to do is take it out of the fridge and start stacking. I also made all of my cakes last night. So this is a little trick I use. I learned it from Martha Stewart. So she always says to make your cakes the night before, wrap them, cool them all the way, wrap them in plastic wrap, and then put them in the freezer. And that way, you don't have to worry about your cake coming apart when you start to do the crumb coat. So if you look at the sides of my cake, they're nice and firm, and I don't have a lot of scraps falling everywhere, which is always pretty awesome. This is gonna be a really tall one, so get ready. Okay, now we're just gonna do the very last layer. Get all of that buttercream out. Oh, beautiful. Frost, frost, frost. Looks absolutely amazing. We just want to make sure it's nice and even on top before we put on our final layer of cake. And then I just go around, kind of check it, make sure it looks even. And then I'm just gonna fill in those gaps, right? Because my next flavor is not lemon, I wanna make sure I don't have a ton of lemon buttercream popping out on the side. So you just wanna fill in, press it all down. It's nice and tightly in there, all the layers are filled. Since the cake layers are so thick, I like to really make sure that there's a lot of frosting on the cake. So you'll see when I top coat it, I always go around twice. Okay, so that's it for this part. Now I'm gonna get my crumb coat color. Okay, so now we are ready to do our crumb coat. I have this really nice teal that I'm using. I start from the top and work my way down the sides. Other people do it different. This is just the way that I am most comfortable. So like I said, I made all my frostings last night, and then what I did is I took them all out of the fridge this morning because soft frosting is always a lot easier to work with. So I always tell people when I make my buttercream, I use room temperature butter, and when I frost my cakes, I use room temperature frosting. It's just a lot easier to handle. Getting a little close to the edge, I'm just gonna push this guy up a tiny bit. That's like my worst fear, is ending up with a cake on the floor. So we're getting there. It's looking nice on the top, so now I'm gonna start going down the sides. You just want to take it and smooth it out as you go down. I don't like to go too thick on my crumb coat. I just want to get the whole cake covered so I can put a nice even top coat. So a lot of time I really try and make the frosting last. This cake is part of a set for Mermaid baby shower. So I did this cake, 30 cookies, and a dozen cupcakes. And I'm trying to get them all to match. So if you follow my Instagram, you'll see everything together. And you can tell me if you think everything looks good. At this point, you will see some of the crumbs are getting pulled up by the buttercream, but it's not that bad. I've definitely had some disasters with unfrozen cakes where it's been absolutely horrendous. So at this point, what I'm gonna do is pull some of this frosting off, right? Because we have a lot of extra frosting at the top that we can use for the bottom. If you notice, if you look under my cake, I didn't start with it, but then a little ways through I realized I needed it. I have a wet paper towel. So this just keeps my cake from sliding around. I have another cake stand that has a little sticky center on it, which is great to use, but for the tall cakes, it's just a little too tall for me to see over. I'm pretty short. So for this regular stand that doesn't have that, I always just put a wet paper towel underneath, and that keeps the cake from sliding around. It works well with these denser cakes. I've heard stories of people saying that if the cardboard gets damp, your cake can fall through dowels. So I wouldn't do this if you're using like a wetter, maybe a coconut, anything lighter, a heavy cream cake. But for these heavy, big buttercream ones that are not gonna get stacked on top of each other, it's a great way to keep your cake from sliding all over the place. You don't have to chase your cake around the board. So as you see, I didn't need that much buttercream for this guy. Like I said, it's just the crumb coat, so we're just sort of sealing everything in on the cake. We're gonna cover up any holes that we can find. Then I'm just gonna go around a couple more times with my bench scraper. That's what the big spackling tool is that I'm using. So we're gonna go a few more times with this guy just to even everything out. I'm gonna use my lemon frosting as my little scrap bowl since we're done with that. And you just wanna get it nice and even so that your top coat will sit nicely and you won't be able to see anything, any little dimples through there. Just have a couple more little spots that I want to fill in. And then this cake is going to get chilled, and then we'll be back to do the top coat. I'm not really good at doing the corners. If you look at my cakes, a lot of them have little corner issues, but this one's gonna get covered in ganache, so maybe we can hide it. Okay, there we go. The cake is crumb coated and it's about to go in the fridge.